so other things about Prabhupada realizations. So I like to thank you very much, Panchagoda. They have respected me, so I pray to Prabhupada, let Prabhupada encourage them more and more service in Krishna Balaram. Krishnai gacheta madamoha vinasakarin madrishti gauchara Prabhu Prabhupada Swami dosa pavirti paridushita manda buddhi sanchintayami charano tava bhakti eto Vrindavan ramanareti prasiddha bhuma Tatra Krishna Balarama Supada Mule Jnanam Param Parama Krishna Sudami Juktam Dantas Tadaiva Prabhupada Namo Namaste 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 Kripa Bhumadraste Namaste Namaste Mahananda Date Namo namami punaraksha raksha vide videhi bodaksha daksha bhakti siddhanta shishyaya bhakti vedanta namine pasannaya pasannaya tasmai Sri Gurubhe namaha Sri Banga Bhumi Jana Bhushana Gaura Leela Gauranga Bhava Parisarana Matra Sila Radha Mukunda Pada Padma Mano Vilasin Ananda Vasi Prabhupada Namo Namaste Ananda Vasi Gurudeva Namo Namaste Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. So because all my God brothers, they speak English, so I'm trying to speak English also today, but there's none many Indian devotees here. So actually this Pranati, Prabhupada liked very much. After the class, before the class, Prabhupada tells there's Anantaram Shastri, so come and chant this. Then after Prabhupada start the class here in Vrindavan, 1975-76 here. So this is Prabhupada and Krishna Balaram, Raman Reti. This is glorification of Raman Reti, glorification of Krishna Balaram, Radha Shyam Sundar, Gaur Nitai, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya, Bhakti Vedanta Namine. So this is because Dharmatma Prabhu, he told me that I should chant this before I speak. So that's why I chant this prayer. So just like other day, Loknath Maharaj told here, they say, I born in Vrindavan because he have 3 initiation here. First, second, third, sannyasi also. And the same thing to me also. I am from Nepal, in the Himalaya, at mountains. I never know in Vrindavan. I never know Vrindavan about it. I know Haridwar, maybe in Banaras. I heard, but never heard the Vrindavan Dham. So then I came direct, I went to Haridwar. So I take a bath in Ganji. I stay for a few days, some ashram, Haridwar. But I am not satisfied there in Haridwar. They speak, they so-called Mahamandaleshwar over there, they speak about Krishna Katha, but they don't realize Krishna is a God. But I was not satisfied. Then somebody said in Mathura, Vrindavan, from I heard in Haridwar. So then I came to Mathura, from there by train, Haridwar to Mathura. I stay one day in Mathura. Then I want to take bath, Vishram Ghat, I did darshan one day Mathura, stay one day. Then everybody say Vrindavan from Mathura. So then I came by walk from Mathura to Vrindavan. That time I have no money, just came by walking Then I came to Vrindavan. But that time I don't know where I can stay. The place Vrindavan. But then that time one Akhandananda Maharaj ashram is here, very oldest ashram. So I went there. I stayed for a few days, the ashram. Then next day I went to Jamuna, take a bath, Keshi Ghat. Then I went to Darshan, Bhakti Bihari Bhagavan. I did the Bhakti Bihari Darshan. From Bhakti Bihari Darshan, after that, I came out. They say that, they told me that Angrez Mandir. They don't say Krishna Balram Mandir here. They told me, because they thought I am also Westerner. I know, Vrindavan. They think I am Westerner. So they say, here, Angrez Mandir ban raha hai. They told, I say, Angrez Mandir? What do you mean, Angrez Mandir? So I say, what is the meaning of Angrez Mandir? So they say, Angrez Mandir ban raha hai. I say, where ban raha hai? Where is, kahan hai? Where is the Angrez Mandir? They say, go to Chattikara Road, go straight. That time Chattikara Road is very small, very narrow. Kacha road tha. When I came to Vrindavan, beginning of 75, the road was very kacha. छोटा सा लाइन था. तो मैं चल के इधर दोपहर को यहाँ पर आरती हो रही थी 12 बजे. तो उससे पहले आके मैं वो प्रांगण में उधर खड़ा था. तो आया, खड़ा हुआ, तो यहाँ भक्त लोग इतने कीर्तन अच्छे कर रहे थे. उस समय अमेरिकन, यूरोपियन, ऑस्ट्रेलियन डिवोटी थे यहाँ मोस्टली, नो रशियंस. तो इतने 4-5 मर्दंगा साथ में लेके बड़े बड़े लंबे लंबे डिवोटी थे. जैसे लाइक दीना बंधु प्रभु, ये सब कितने लंबे हैं. सो इतने लंबे डिवोटी थे, इतने हाथ ऊपर करके नाच रहे थे. तो नाच रहे थे, करता वन साइड, दिस साइड राधा श्याम सुंदर साइड माता जी लोग, माता जी डांसिंग, और लेफ्ट साइड एंड प्रभु जी ऑल डिवोटी डांसिंग, चैंटिंग. आई वाज जस्ट स्टैंडिंग वेयर दैट नाउ अखंड कीर्तन इज गोइंग ऑन मिडल. So I was standing there. So then, after Kirtan is over, they said that time one o'clock the prasadam here, this temple, ISKCON. So Prabhupada time they have prasad 1 o'clock. So then one devotee, Smarahari brothers, Smarahari Prabhuji brother, Girvaradhari Prabhu, he came to me, he approached me, he said, can you come to Prasad with us? I say, no English. I am from Nepal. मैं नेपाल से. तो ही छोटा मोटा इंग्लिश बोलता था, टूटी फूटी इंग्लिश, द हिंदी बोलते थे वो. तो हिंदी में उन्होंने बताया, आप प्रसाद के लिए हमारे पास चलिए. तो मेरा हाथ पकड़ा, उन्होंने प्रसाद हॉल में ले गया. इसलिए स्मरहारी प्रभु मालूम है, when I joined, so he likes me very much. Smarahari is my good friend because they are oldest devotee this temple. What time Prabhupada was giving construction the temple, they are here. Smarahari, Gunanaba Prabhus, Dhananjaya Prabhus. He was here. He was very dear to me. When it's chanting, dancing is going on, Dhananjaya Prabhu keeping me the soldier. He was dancing here, this kuna to that kunas, that time. So, and Akshayananda Maharaj was the president. He also knows a little bit Hindi, Akshayananda Swami. He likes Indian devotee very much, Indian boys. So then they take me the Giri Baradari Prabhu, he take me for Prasadam hall. So he feed me the Prasadam nicely, everybody sit. Prasad is so sumptuous, very wonderful Prasadam. Very, very wonderful, very tasty Prasad. Then I eat that Prasad. I never eat in my life because I am from the village. That Prasad I like very much. So then say, I feel, oh, this Prasad wonderful. I was feeling like that. Then after Prasad finished, I washed my hand, everything. Then again, Giri Baradari came to me. He said, आप यहाँ हमारे साथ रहिए. You stay here. Can you stay here? You are very good. Yeah, this, that. You started. मैं हिंदी में जो है टूटी फूटी हिंदी उनको आ रही थी. He have broken Hindi, so he is speaking to me. So I say okay. मैं सिर हिलाता रहा मैं. I okay. Then he took me to Akshayananda Maharaj office and president. उससे office is guest house room number 1 downstairs. President office Akshayananda Maharaj office में. He was there. So then Girivardhari told Akshananda Maharaj, this boy from Nepal, so maybe can peace to like Hindi me, isko samjhao, you can stay here. Maharaj said, oh yes, why not? Okay. So then Akshananda Maharaj, he peace to me, stay. He said, you will give all the facilities, and like that Krishna is God. So he's speaking to me. Then after I say, okay, that time, same day, same time, after the prasadam, after half an hour, then Barabar was sitting next to the guest house, there, a tree, all the time, those times. Whoever comes, he's saving to them, the devotees. So then, Akshananda Maharaj, he called Harishwari Prabhu. That time, Harishwari was a temple commander here. So he said, you just keep this boy in your rooms for 6-7 days, training him, give him the clothes, let's shave his head. Take this boy care. Then Harishwari Prabhu said, okay. He was a grihastha that time, Harishwari. So then he took me the barber, then he take me to his room, he given me new dhotis. I don't know how to put dhoti, then he teach me to put dhotis. He give me the shirt, he put tilak mantra, he put tilak. So like that. Then after a few days, he give me for temple cleaning. That time temple was construction, the whole, everything. I was a cleaner man here. I'm clean the temple, morning, evening, afternoon. So like this, then Harishwari Prabhu, he engaged me, this temple, everybody, they like me very much because that time I was only small boys, only 17 years old, small and very thin guy. So they like me very much, they speaking me Hindi, this and that. So they give me some time because Kirtan is going on, I was doing Kirtan here, played some Mardanga, temple. So that time Prabhupada was not here. So then after this temple opened, they come from the Mayapur on March like that. So then thousands of devotees came here, this place. Thousands of devotees. They came and many sannyasis with the big dandas. Prabhupada time, all young sannyasi, they are coming. So then Prabhupada, then Sadesha Prabhupada is coming, Harishwari Prabhu, temple command. They decorate whole night and Prabhupada gate, main gate with the big banana trees. Everything we work whole night, flowers, everything. Then flower petal there. Then morning Prabhupada came. They threw so much flower. Prabhupada, they welcome Prabhupada. The big kirtan. Then we take Prabhupada in the Prabhupada room. Then Prabhupada give the blessings lectures. For that time, because I don't know much English, but Prabhupada gave a wonderful lecture for other devotees. Then after that, few days after, and here the temple, Prabhupada go morning walk, then again and come back. Then he was giving the class. There was Guru Puja here. So then Prabhupada ji went. Then he did just like we do every day now, the Prabhupada Murti Parikrama 3 times. Then Prabhupada also circumambulates temple. Then he's walking. Then one day he start standing there was now Krishna Balaram telecast going on that place on the so Prabhupada is standing there. The tamar tree is very small, Bhaksha. Small tree was baby tree, now big, he growing like big thing. It is very nice because Prabhupada like that place, he is standing there. So now they make their sitting place. That's actually Prabhupada always holding there speaking the devotees. So that time Prabhupada is standing there and with a big stick. Then Prabhupada is speaking like this along with the devotees. I was, because other devotees, they are putting me ahead near Prabhupada. Sannyasis. So then I was also standing next to Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada said, Balaram like honey because he is intoxicated. He likes honey very much. So then after that he said, Krishna likes yogurt and butter. He is stealing yogurt butter and he's throwing the monkey, he feeding the monkey. He said like that. Then I don't know, something came from my mouth. something came, my mouth, I say, automatically came from my mouth. I say, Prabhupada, I also like yogurt. I told Prabhupada, I also like yogurt. Then Prabhupada said, he just looked me like this. Then he said, where this boy is from? Then Akshananda Maharaj, president, because president always he go along with the Prabhupada, because something wrong, then Prabhupada will correct from the president. So Akshananda Swami, along with the Prabhupada, he said, this boy is from Nepal. Then Prabhupada, he just looked, Nepal? Whoa, Nepali boy? Yeah. Oh, he looks like, I thought he's some part of Europe. He looks like European. He looks like European. I thought he's some part of Europe. He's Nepali boy. Okay, Nepal is a Hindu country, Prabhupada said. Still, the king is ruling Nepal now. It's a Hindu country because there's no slaughterhouse, Nepal. Prabhupada's talking for a few minutes about the Nepal. So then Prabhupada said to me, you like yogurt? आपको दही अच्छी लगती है? बाद में प्रभुपाद हिंदी में बात किए. मैं बोला हाँ प्रभुपाद जी अच्छी लगती है. तो प्रभुपाद बोले आपका your name is Dadhi Bhaksha Das. Then everybody say Hari Bol. Then all of a sudden Hari Bol. Then Hansaduta Maharaj, that time Hansaduta Maharaj, Hansaduta is also Maharaj, that he told Prabhupada ji, what is meaning Dadhi Bhaksha Das? You don't know? What is meaning Dadhi Bhaksha Das? Dadhi means yogurt, Bhaksha means eater. Krishna Manu eats the yogurt. That's why his name is Dadhi Bhaksha Das. So then Prabhupada just give me my name that day like that. Then after a few days, here initiation ceremony is going on at the temple here. Maybe 200, 300, 400 devotees take initiation that day, around international initiation ceremony, the courtyard. Here, then Akshananda Maharaj, he put my name in the list for my initiation. Then my number came, then Prabhupada said, कितना माला जप करना है? 16 माला. और कितने नियम क्या है? 4 नियम मैंने बताया. Okay, आपका नाम, I have given your name that day, same day, Dadhi Bhaksha Das. Okay, the name will be continue and you do the seva. So Prabhupada give me that name, that day, my new birth. So I born Vrindavan. My spiritual life start from Vrindavan only. After and few months, 2-3 months, after 3 months, then because many devotees become sick, that time no Indian devotee mostly here. So all Western devotee, Australian, European, American. So because the machar, mosquito biting them. So they have a malaria, these things, visa problems. So then because pujari problem is here. So always president have to get new pujari, this and that. Akshananda Maharaj have to problem for pujari. Then Akshananda Maharaj, one day, he take me and Prabhupada room. Prabhupada is sitting there. Well, just like now Prabhupada sitting that asan. Prabhupada sitting there. And Akshananda Maharaj told Prabhupada ji, Prabhupada, please give Dadhi Bhaksha Prabhu ji and Brahmana initiation because we want to engage him in the pujari work. Prabhupada said, well, okay, no problem. Then that day, 3 devotee was taking Brahmana initiation with the Prabhupada room afternoon. Myself, 2 devotee from Hansaduta Maharaj party, Ishaku, Akhilananda, they are from Germany. So then Prabhupada just, okay, I'll give initiation, Brahmana initiation. Said, okay. Then Prabhupada, what he did, then I have a Brahmana initiation from my house. Previous, when I am 8-9 years old, this family Brahman, they give us Brahman initiations. So I have a Brahman thread on my neck. Then Prabhupada say, आपके पास ब्राह्मण थ्रेड है, जनाई तो है, आपको चाहिए मंत्र? मैं बोला, yes, Prabhupada, I require your mantras. I want, yeah. So Prabhupada told me, what's your Gayatri mantra? Tell me. Then I told Prabhupada, say, okay, this is demigod mantra, Gayatri mantra, I'll give you the Vaishnava Gayatri mantra. Then Prabhupada said, okay, then you come to next to me. Then Prabhupada called me like this, then he put my air, he take my air, then he chant mantra, my air, Gayatri mantra, he teach me how to count, 10 times, 3 times he teach me. So then that time Harishwari Prabhu is a secretary of Prabhupada. When I joined, he's a temple commander. When I Brahmana initiation, Harishwari is a secretary of Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada called Harishwari. He said, give this boy the papers and teach him nicely how to account the mantra. He practiced. Then he teach me, Harishwari Prabhu. So then after few days, 3-4 days, then Akshayananda Maharaj, he put me in the Pujari department. At that time, this, not Omkara, but Narottam Prabhu, beginning, temple opening time, he's a beginning head Pujari here, Narottam. So they put me in the Pujari department. Then I was doing morning to evening, full arati, because Pujari very short. Only Indian two Pujari. One is Sachinandan Prabhu, one is Prabhas Prabhu. They are from Mayapur. So then after on myself, then because Western devotee they become sick, that. So then we have to do morning to evening, full arati all the times to continue. So I was doing arati, Pujari also here, and then then Harishwari Prabhu always, whenever he see me, he say, I training Dadhi Bhaksha Prabhu and this cooking करने वाले क्या नाम था? हाँ नहीं cooking पहले प्रभु बंगाली Bibi Chaitanya Prabhu, myself, he training us. We are together Harishwari Prabhu's rooms. So after Bibu Chaitanya Prabhu, he put him the devotee kitchen because he have known Brahmana initiation that time. Because he know the cooking, so he engaged me in the cleaning. So like that, but he have training us, Harishwari Prabhu, nicely. Then after Bibu Chaitanya take a Brahmana initiation, he was a DD kitchen in charge. DD kitchen, he's a kitchen prepare. I am Pujari, Arati. So like this. So that way, so I joined spiritual life. My start from Vrindavan Dham. So I am from Nepal. So I am very fortunate. Brahmanda bharite kona bhagyavana jeev Guru Krishna prasade paye bhakti lata beej. So I feel I am very fortunate person. Even the thousands amount of people from Nepal, but Prabhupada, I am simple devotees from mountain. He accept me as his own disciples. Prabhupada very merciful. He's in everybody. He doesn't say, okay, you scientist, you can be near to me. He's a doctor, you can, no, like that. Prabhupada see equally everybody. Because Prabhupada room, anybody can go and meet him. Only that time, because the GBC, other people, they stopping, other people not to go Prabhupada room, not to disturb. If you go Prabhupada room, Prabhupada is talking very sweetly, welcome to everybody. He give a prasadam, he give the laddus, he give very merciful, he asking where you from, what is your activities. He very kindly he is speaking to. But if you are going, otherwise they are not allowed to go and meet Prabhupada. Only big people can go, GBC, ABC, like president, but not other ordinary devotees. So like this. But I have opportunity to meet Prabhupada for evening satsang, sitting there many times. Prabhupada hand laddus. When then after the Harishwari Prabhu temple, then Bhagavad-Gita temple commander, many temple commander changing here, many head pujari, many president that time. So then Bhagavad-Gita Prabhu, he told me, he take me Prabhupada room, I clean Prabhupada toilet. Or he told me clean the Prabhupada toilet. He was watching me. He allowed me to do seva Prabhupada room also. So I was here. I was cleaning and Brahmachari ashram that time. So everything done by the devotees. That time no sweepers. That time when you want to join ISKCON and Prabhupada, you have to clean the pots. You have to cook. You have to do everything. You have to clean. You have not like you have to watch in the computer. You have to watch the the mobile. No, like that. If you don't want to do this service like this, then they will throw you out. He says, go out. You cannot stay at the temple. There are very strict rules that time. They have to come to everyday Mangalarti. If you know Mangalarti, they will not give the prasadam. No Mangalarti, no prasadam. Temple commander very strictly watching. When you are sitting in prasadam hall, he will take your plate out. Because you Prabhu, you not came to Mangalarti. You cannot have a prasadam. So very strictly, Prabhupada, Prabhupada say, we don't want to lazy and crazy in the ashram. We want to follow for regulated principle, devotee, stay temple, spreading and Krishna consciousness. No lazy, no crazies. So like this. So Prabhupada is very, very merciful to us. So he fell to me also. So and then after that, sometime I was also selling the Mahaprasad here, this place, about 3 months. So then after me, that Mataji, South Indian, he take over. Even she comes, she remind me, Prabhuji, after you, I take over the selling Mahaprasad. So I did so much service and beginning on this temple. They help me like anything. The temple commander, always they are my friendly. They telling me the seva. So I was doing. So like this is Krishna Balaram Mercy, Radha Shyam Sundar Mercy, so Prabhupada Mercy. They brought me here. Otherwise, I never know these things about Krishna. I never know because I am from Mount. I know Shivji, demigod. I am worshipping demigods. Devi Devtaon ke hum bhakta the, pahad mein. I am from mountains. So because Krishna we don't know. So here I came. That Prabhupada engaged me in Krishna Seva. So direct opportunity. So this is my opportunity. So so then after that, here Prabhupada one day. 77, when Prabhupada sick, the Prabhupada was coming for darshan here, sitting in the courtyard near to the tamal tree with a chair, watching in front of Krishna Balaram like this. So all the Gurukul boy, they are doing around kirtans. There is Sachinandan Prabhu doing kirtan, everybody dancing. So what happens? All the public, they come for darshan for a temple. They want to come to near to Prabhupada. Then one devotee, they are pushing the public, not to come to near to Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada see him. Then Prabhupada just call him. He said, what you doing? Then the devotee told Prabhupada, because they want to come to near to you, so they will not disturb you. That's why I am pushing them back. Prabhupada said, you don't know? This is India. The Indian people know how to respect the sadhus. You don't know. You are from Western country. I teach you how to, develop this. Otherwise, these people, they know India. They know how to respect sadhus. They know. So why are you stopping? They want to come. Let them come. Darshan. They know. They are Indian people. They like to have darshan the sadhus. Then after the devotee say, okay, come. So then Prabhupada holding hand to them. So there, Prabhupada darshan, the other public, they are going. So Prabhupada very merciful. He is very kind to everyone. He doesn't say, stop them, not to come to me. And nothing like that. As one time, another incident, when Hansadutta Maharaj, he was taking the bus party tour. Then he take me in South India along with him about, 2 big buses and 40 devotees. So then we went to Hyderabad. After temple opening, so they are Hyderabad. We went to Hyderabad farm. The Hyderabad farm, there is one big tree out there. There's nearby. There's all the quarters there around. So then that tree, the evening time, the people devotee taking prasadam every day, evening and the morning. So and then every morning Prabhupada comes to walk. Then he comes sit there and give lecture. They have a vyasas they put there and have a Guru Puja. So one day what happened, that place was not clean. They eat 5 o'clock prasadam, there will chapat, there will dal, sabji is round, spreading there. So then Prabhupada came then, in the morning, then he see this jutha, what's going on, this dal and sabji around spread down. Then Prabhupada said, what is this? He called Mahamsa Swami, because that time Mahamsa president in Hyderabad. So he told Mahamsa, what is this? So they told that because yesterday 5 o'clock devotee take prasadam, they have not clean. Then Prabhupada said, what do you mean not clean? After prasadam, after eating prasadam, this should be clean, with the water. Why not they clean? Then he called to Hansaduta, Jagat Guru Maharaj. Everybody they call. Prabhupada shouting like they anything. Then he said, why not clean? Then after that, Hansaduta Maharaj putting the water, bring the bucket pani, and then Jagat Guru with the spreading, swinging, cleaning very, very nicely. Then after that, Prabhupada called Indian devotee, Ram Sarda Prabhu. The other two, they are standing there, one Bengali devotees. Prabhupada said, you are Indian. You don't know after eating, you have to clean this. They are foreigner. Okay, they don't know anything, but I teach them. But you are Indian, you don't know after eating you have to clean this place. Why not you do this? Why are you like that? Prabhupada shout them, anything Indian devotee, Ram Sada Prabhu, उनको shout कर दिया Prabhupada जी ने, shout किया. So then after everything clean, it become normal. Then Prabhupada say, okay, bring the Vyasa, let do Guru Puja. Then he tell Jagat Guru, you do my arati. Then he tell Hansaduta, lead your kirtan. Then Hansaduta Maharaj did Guru Puja, Jagat Guru did Guru Arati, Prabhupada. Then after actually Prabhupada select only good leaders to lead kirtan. Not anybody can lead kirtan. You can chant japa, it's okay. But kirtan should be, it's connected with the Prabhupada heart. So Hansaduta was a very big leader, good leader. So Prabhupada likes Hansaduta kirtan very much. So he told Hansaduta, lead kirtan, sing. Then he started singing on Guru Puja, everybody dancing like anything, like elephant sky. So then after the Prabhupada started class, then Prabhupada started Jai Radha Madhava, then Prabhupada stopped Jai Radha Madhava. So there's all the quarters there, maybe 20, 25 quarters like this. Then Prabhupada, one quarter was, one room is closed, the door. Then Prabhupada, see that room, door is closed. That time is 8 o'clock. So then Prabhupada said, why that room door is closed? Prabhupada tell. Then one devotee tell Prabhupada, one devotee is sleeping there. Prabhupada said, one devotee is sleeping now? He is not devotee, he is a demon. You wake him. Why is sleeping in that room now? 8 o'clock. Now Guru Puja class going on. He is sleeping. Then devotee wake him. Then he brought here in front of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada told, why are you sleeping now? Everybody is just doing kirtan. You sleeping, lying in the bed. Why? Prabhupada shouted. Prabhupada said, he said, no, Prabhupada, I'm very sick. I'm sick. This, what is sick? That time eating prasadam, your big plate. Coming the morning program, you become sick. What the nonsense, making excuse. That time eating a prasadam, you have a big plate in front of every big plate you are taking prasadam. But coming program, you making sick. And then Prabhupada shout him like this. Prabhupada very strict also, is very kind. After normal, like this. So, Prabhupada want to correct everybody. Prabhupada correct. Because he's a Jagat Guru, he's universal Guru, spiritual master. He knows, if you don't correct, then how can the movement run like this? So because he's, purity in the force. See, when you see other sampradaya, when Guru go away, the institutions are closed. Though now Prabhupada is gone, so many years, but ISKCON is moving like anything, spreading like anything, because Prabhupada gave us purity, spreading. Like I heard of Delhi is even 14, 15 temples, thousands of devotees coming. Like Karbajan मेरे को बोल रहा है, करबनपुर बोलते प्रभु जी दिल्ली में, पंजाब में इतने भक्त बन रहे, बहुत भक्त हो रहे, इसलिए गोपाल कृष्ण महाराज का व्यास पूजा दिल्ली बड़ा हॉल में होता है, बोलते जगह ही नहीं मिलता है. तो ऐसा है, तो अब spread like anything. When you other Acharya Bhagavan, they are gone, now nobody cares Bhagavan. Some other Guru, they say their name is property, there's somebody in the prison, somebody jail. So Prabhupada movement is spreading, and Prabhupada said that, Prabhupada doesn't make the Sanstha, the society about his name. He make the Sanstha International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Prabhupada doesn't say Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Mission. Nobody know Prabhupada who is Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Mission. Nobody know. Prabhupada say At that time I registered in the society. The Vakil told Prabhupada, why not you make your name, Prabhupada, Swamiji, Bhaktivedanta Swami Mission? Why you say the international support? Prabhupada said, when I make my name, then as long as I am there, this movement will go on. So after that stop. When I make register ISKCON International Society for Krishna Consciousness, so that society go after 10,000 years. So this is not my society, this is Krishna's society. So that's the Prabhupada spread this, the whole world can live and together. One time Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he went to America, he was Videsh Mantri, Western Mantri that time. He met Prabhupada in New York. He told Prabhupada, Atal Bihari Vajpayee told Prabhupada, Prabhupada ji, why are you making so many? You always say, making temple. India, we have so many temples. So why not you maintain those temples? The Prabhupada said, where is the temple? Where is the temple, India? Tell me, what's a temple? What is they doing in the temple? You go to Nathadwara, what they do? You go to Tirupati, what did they do? I am not making temple, I am making ashram. I am making ashram. One can take shelter of Krishna. I am not making temple. So you go to Nathadwara, all the big temple, Dwarika, what they giving any shelter to you? Nobody giving any shelter, nobody teaching about Krishna consciousness. So they are doing all the business. So I am not making temple, I am making the ashram. Then Atal Bihari Vajpayee said, okay, I am sorry. Okay. Then that day Prabhupada told, one day Atal Bihari Vajpayee will become the president of the Pradhan Mantri, Prime Minister of India. So then even he came, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Delhi temple, Radha Rajpayee temple, opening time also he glorified Prabhupada. Prabhupada gave me the blessings like this. So Prabhupada knows past, future, present. He knows everything. Thus so is everything running very nicely. Everybody chanting 16 rounds, Prabhupada said, reading Bhagavatam class, Bhagavatam, Gita. So this is mercy of our Guru Maharaj. So we are here taking shelter and Prabhupada and this temple. So now because my God brother, senior most, Deena Bandhu Prabhu speak. So I don't want to, take so longer. He can speak. So thank you very much, all of you. So you have given the opportunity. Dharmatma Prabhu ji, आपका धन्यवाद. श्रील प्रभुपाद की.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I'm very happy that I was invited to share some memories of Srila Prabhupada with you all. And I'm a little disappointed not many more people came, because that day is coming when there will be no one left on the planet who saw Prabhupada directly. So we should take advantage of this program. Devotees are coming, sharing their memories of Prabhupada. One day they won't be here. Nobody will be on the planet who saw Prabhupada directly. So this is a very important program. So I was very fortunate. I was temple president of Portland, Oregon, in northwest corner of America. At that time, he wasn't Maharaj then, he was Grihastha. Mukunda was living with his wife nearby. And he used to come very often. He used to tell me stories from the very, very beginning. Because somehow he was a musician. And they were just becoming very, very popular. And he was feeling the pinch of material success. Before it was a lot of fun jamming together and having a lot of fun. And now have to negotiate contracts, sign contracts. The people you have to play with the people want. Before they just played what they wanted. Now they have to play what the people want. It just wasn't what he thought success would be. At that moment, Prabhupada came into his life. Somebody told him, one of his friends told him, that down on the Bowery, because Prabhupada had moved from apartment upstate, town, down to the Bowery. He's teaching Sanskrit. They thought Prabhupada was teaching Sanskrit because he would speak from Bhagavad-Gita and give the Sanskrit and everything. So one day he thought, let me go see what it's all about. So Bowery was just a couple of blocks away. So the Bowery was, you could say that was the bowels of New York. Only bums. Nowadays we call them homeless, but only bums lived there. Drinking all day and night. When you drink, then you get tired, you want to sleep. And because you've been drinking, then that has to come out somewhere. And you're drunk, you're tired, you don't want to go very far. They would just go behind the staircase. Prabhupada was living in such a place just to save all of us, going through such austerity. He said he opened the door and the smell of rotten urine hit him in the face. And then he had to step over the bums to get to the stairway. Because somehow the bums, they were a little appreciative of Prabhupada. They would get up and, go like this and welcome him to come. But he had to step over these bums, drunks. Such a place Prabhupada was living. Can you imagine? Pure devotee of the Lord. Just undergoing all this trouble just to save us. And he went up the stairs, and some boy had given him artist in residence loft. We call AIR loft. Of course, in India, AIR means something else, but anyway, artist in residence. Because they're big, they're wide open, lots of air, lots of light. Artists like them. And he'd pay the rent for the whole year, and he told Swamiji, you can come stay there. Unfortunately, he told some of his other friends they could stay there also. So, anyway, he walked up to that loft, he knocked on the door. And nobody answered the door. There came a voice. Come in. Come in. There's one time in Boston, my god sister, Janavi, the artist, or Janavi, I guess, the artist. In Boston, somebody knocked on the door, and Prabhupada chuckled. He said, if I am in Vrindavan, no one will knock on my door. They will just lean toward the window and say, Jai Radhe. I will also not get up to answer the door. I will lean toward the window and say, Jai Radhe. The Prabhupada wasn't afraid to chant Jai Radhe. So anyway, so he opened the door. He said, I stepped back 5,000 years in history. There was this golden person with orange robes draped over his shoulder. Sitting there, looked like a genie who just popped out of the lamp from 5,000 years ago. And he was sitting behind a shipping trunk. Though in those days we didn't have nice Samsonite suitcases, aristocrat. We had what were called shipping trunks. You probably don't remember. They were rectangular shaped with tin little things to bind it, all the corners together. Prabhupada was using that as his desk. And Prabhupada had a broken typewriter. Prabhupada was so determined to spread the message of Bhagavad-Gita. He was sitting behind a broken typewriter. Nowadays, if somebody makes us in charge of some department, we have to have a car, we have to have a laptop, we have to have a desktop, Prabhupada had a broken typewriter. And there was piles, it didn't make any sense. There was piles of manuscript all around the room. Here's this genie who just stepped out of history, sitting behind this typewriter, broken typewriter. And he looked at Mukunda like you look at somebody, that you see an old friend that you haven't seen for years. You know, you're walking down the street, suddenly you see your old friend. Like that, Prabhupada looked at him. And he told him, come in, sit down. So then they talked some time, and Prabhupada said, I'm having Bhagavad-Gita classes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. You should come and join us. So then Mukunda, he started coming to these classes. Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday night. They have a kirtan, and Prabhupada would speak about Bhagavad-Gita. One day, one of those other boys who had been given permission to stay there in that loft went crazy, probably took some drugs, and attacked Prabhupada. And Prabhupada packed his things. He ran down to the street. He didn't know whether to go left or whether to go right. Now, if you're in New York City, very cold place, you could drop dead, people will just step around you. And you don't have any place to go, it's a very frightening experience. Prabhupada didn't know whether to go left or whether to go left, right. Somehow there was one black devotee named Karl Jurgens, who later became Karlapati. And somehow Prabhupada knew where his apartment was. And he came to his apartment, he said, this boy has gone crazy, he attacked me, I need some place to stay. But it was very uncomfortable. It was this black boy, Karl Jurgens, with his white girlfriend. They weren't even married. In those days, nobody used to get married. And now this Swami has come to live with them. So they put him on the couch. Prabhupada was sleeping on the couch. So at that time, Mukunda was sort of a leader of the group. So Saturday morning, he took Prabhupada over to Mukunda's apartment. About 7 o'clock in the morning. For somebody in a band, that was an ungodly hour. You maybe wake up at 9 o'clock, oh, there's light. Sleep for a couple more hours, especially on a Saturday. And out of a daze, he opened the door, and there's Karl Jurgens and Swamiji. He didn't know what to do. He was just starting to understand that Swamiji is my spiritual master. And Prabhupada looked at him, saw his bewilderment, said, it is proper when the spiritual master comes, you offer something, some fruit. So he went and woke up his girlfriend, Janaki, said, go cut up some fruit. Then they sat down, and they had been practicing all night, so there was guitar chords and going this way and that way, and sheet music everywhere. It was a big mess. And Prabhupada sat on the couch. And American culture means television. So immediately Mukunda turned on the television, because no matter what you're doing, if your friend came to talk, you turn on the television in the background. Even my mother had a TV mounted in the ceiling, so while she goes to sleep, she can watch TV and fall asleep. So he turned on the TV. So Saturday morning must have been Mighty Mouse or something like that was on the TV. And Prabhupada looked, he said, this is nonsense. Mukunda jumped off the couch, turned off the TV all in one motion, and said, yes, Swamiji, this is nonsense. And then the cat jumped into Prabhupada's lap, and Prabhupada, whack! Of course, there's other pastimes where Prabhupada rubbed the cat with his toe, but this time, whack! And they began discussing what should be done. We have to find a place for Swamiji. And Carl kept saying, what do you think we should do? What do you? He kept saying you. And then Prabhupada looked at him, just like you see those pictures of Prabhupada in the profile, like a swan gliding across a lake. Prabhupada looked at him and he said, if I shut my eyes, he told me if I shut my eyes, I can still see Prabhupada's eyes. He looked straight at me, straight through me. And I didn't know what to do. I said, okay, Swamiji, we'll do something. So then they found the storefront, 26 2nd Avenue. And they took Prabhupada over there, and the landlord was just an ordinary American guy, denim jeans, probably a denim shirt, type of guy who would watch football, American football, all Saturday morning. But he saw Swamiji, he became very respectful. You know, he held the chair for him, you know, he said, Your Excellency. And then they were discussing about the rent, and the devotees were preaching. And he was in front of Prabhupada, he became very humble. Americans are really puffed up, but he became very, very humble. So he was listening nicely to what the devotees were preaching. So because he was listening so humbly, devotees got excited and said, you know, and you can become a member, you can become a life member of our society for $20 a month. You should have become life member then, huh? And he said, why don't we knock $20 off the rent? So over 100 it came down to 80, or from whatever it was. But then Prabhupada took his red Bhagavatams. What I'd give to have one of those now. And Prabhupada signed them. Those original old red Bhagavatams. I love those books with all their misspellings and imperfections and everything. After I finished my duties, I used to sit and read those old red Bhagavatams. Prabhupada signed three volumes, and he gave it. He said, Swamiji, I can't imagine Americans saying this. He said, I'm not worthy to accept this. I said, Prabhupada, no, you take. So then it was just a bare storefront, and Prabhupada started having his kirtans Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday nights, and classes on Bhagavad-Gita. Then the Mott Street crew came. Somehow or other, Hayagriva met him walking down the street. And he brought all Kirtananda and all his friends, Umapati, to the classes. And they had been to India, and they started looking around. The whole storefront was just an empty storefront. That maybe we should decorate this place. They had very beautiful printed bedspreads from India, from Rajasthan, and little bells, and all kinds of, and posters. All types of decoration, little brass bells and everything. So one day they all came, they brought all their things, and they began decorating the storefront. And this was the first ISKCON politics. One other group came and said, what are you doing? Swamiji says we should just accept what's our quota. Anything else is extra. This is Maya. Because Prabhu was teaching a little bit about Isopanishad. And the other side said, no, we're decorating this temple for Krishna. Said, no, Swamiji said, we just taste what's our quota. This is all extra. This is Maya. I guess because Prabhupada's apartment was behind, he must have heard something was going on. So he came downstairs, and Prabhupada looked inside the temple room, and just like a little child, his eyes became very big. And Prabhupada delivered the verdict. This is Krishna consciousness. This is Krishna consciousness, decorating the temple for Krishna. In fact, In the very old days when I joined, that was our slogan. If somehow or by accident we did something right, because we never did anything right on purpose. Our older godmother would say, "This is Krishna consciousness." That used to be the slogan. So, another part of this story I was told personally by Jamuna. Because they decided, because Prabhupada didn't like this idea of boys and girls living together. He wanted them to get married. So they thought this would be a good opportunity to introduce Joan, Janaki's sister, to Krishna consciousness. We'll get married, we'll invite her. So they invited Jamuna, "You have to come for our wedding." And Prabhupada was very excited. He cooked a special feast for Jamuna. And details in this story you won't find in Jamuna's book. This I heard personally from her mouth. Even some details I can't tell you. So, Jamuna flew into New York. They brought her to the storefront, up to Prabhupada's room. And at that time in her life, Jamuna was into a diet called macrobiotics. I don't think anybody here knows what is macrobiotics. But you can only eat, only thing you can eat is brown rice and chiku-san soy sauce. Everything else is bad. Elephant offense. Especially spices and ghee, milk, sugar. These were all mad elephant offenses to macrobiotics. Because even then she was a famous girl, but she was into macrobiotics at that time of her life. So all this food with spices and ghee and milk and sugar, she was just nibbling. She didn't like any of it. She was just nibbling. But we learned early on, we first went to Indians' house in America and they fed us, they keep giving you prasad and giving you, they're not happy unless you eat a lot. So Prabhupada was also Indian. He wasn't happy. She wasn't eating nicely. Unless the guest eats nicely, the host cannot be satisfied. But she was just nibbling at everything. Finally, they sat down and they were chatting. And then Prabhupada said, "I know what you will like. All my disciples like this too much." And there was a tin on the shelf behind him that had sugar crystals flowing down the side of that tin. Crystallized sugar. And Prabhupada brought it down and he handed her a gulab jamun. And here it was, milk, ghee, sugar, all rolled into one, the mad elephant offense. And Jamuna took it and she tried to hide it in her hand. But gulab jamun is not something you can hide in your hand. So finally she ate it. And she thought, "I'm going to throw up right here in front of everyone. I just know I'm going to vomit right here in front of everyone." But somehow she got it down. And this you won't find in her book, but she personally told me, "I vowed within my mind, I will never, ever, ever have anything to do with this fellow for the rest of my life." This was her vow. But Prabhupada was so charming. They kept talking, and then Prabhupada finally said, "You are coming from the bride's side. So it is the bride's side duty to make the feast. You come here tomorrow morning. I will teach you Indian cooking. And Prabhupada was so charming. She just vowed never to have anything to do with this guy for the rest of her life. But he charmed her completely. And she thought, Indian cooking, why not? Sounds interesting. So, again, it was early in the morning, 7 o'clock. She must have gotten up by 6 to get ready to come. Oh, and before she left, Prabhupada gave her a list of things to get. And there was one thing, turmeric, she couldn't see what it was. And she thought, this is not in the book, oh, the old guy won't notice. The old guy won't notice. So when she came, 7 o'clock in the morning, this is from her own mouth, her description. I had tight blue jeans, a t-shirt with no bra, and my hair was all over the place like this. And she brought in the bag, and Prabhupada took the bag out of her hand. He went through it. You did not get any turmeric. You did not get any turmeric. And she made some lame excuse, well, I couldn't find it. Oh, the boys are getting. Anyway, we have some. Then Prabhupada looked and said, you must be tired. Because she got in early at 7 o'clock was an ungodly hour. You must get up at 6 to get there at 7. So she had bags under her eyes. Prabhupada said, you go in the next room and lie down. And take some rest. So she lay down on Prabhupada's bed. So then, after some time, Prabhupada called her, and he told her, our Indian ladies, when they cook, they're very, very clean. They're afraid that some hair might not come in the preparation. So they tie their hair up. Do you think you could tie your hair up? So she tied her hair up. Prabhupada said, wash your hands. Everything she did, she put her hand around and wash her hands. That was the instruction for the rest of the day. Wash your hands. So then Prabhupada asked her, do you know how to make a medium soft dough? And she said, for making croissant or this or that, some fancy French names she used. And Prabhupada looked at her and said, how old are you? And you don't know how to make a medium soft dough? You can just speak all these fancy words? So Prabhupada threw the dough on the counter, sprinkled some water, and with one hand, just his right hand, immediately made the dough like this. And then he taught her how to make samosas, and the whole rest of the afternoon, she was cooking samosas. So, another story she told me about that time, because there was some talk about going to Nepal. Because Yamuna knew calligraphy. Prabhupada had her, the incorporation papers, Prabhupada had her write it very fancy. And there was some type of calligraphy in Nepal she wanted to learn. So she was talking about going with her husband to Nepal. And finally one morning, Prabhupada asked her, why do you want to go to Nepal? And Jamuna thought for a moment, and she said, well, Swamiji, I'm looking for the highest thing. And Prabhupada's eyes got very big. Oh, you were looking for the highest thing? You just stay here with me. One day I will show you the highest thing. One day I will show you the highest thing. When I was temple president of Portland, she lived in South Oregon in her own ashram. And she installed her deities, Radha Banabihari. And I came down from Portland, and Jayatirtha and some others came up from Berkeley, and for 1 week she was cooking. And at that time we heard so many stories. And there she was installing the highest thing, Radha Banabihari. We'll get to some Vrindavan stories of Jamuna. We've all heard the nectar devotion classes. It was so sweet in those days. Now it's a mess. But those samadhis were very sweet. It was a very sweet area. But many devotees came, so there's a lot of noise and disturbance. And Jamuna and Gurudas, they were living in the room above Srila Prabhupada's rooms. So they had some discussion. They decided that Prabhupada would move up there because so many people moving and talking, it was bothering his translation. So one day they took all their things down, and Prabhupada went upstairs and sat there, and then they were moving Prabhupada's things up. And Jamuna came upstairs, and she heard some funny noise. And the door was just a little open, so she peeked through. Because she was just thinking, what is Prabhupada going to do about that old lady monkey? They had even named her Kakati. And she would steal their things. They put their clothes out to dry. She would tear them. She was a terror. What is Prabhupada going to do about her? And she looked through the window, and Kakati was in the window. And Prabhupada said, "Brrr." And Kakati said, "Brrr." And Prabhupada said, "Brrr." And Kakati said, "Brrr." And then the monkey went away. And Jamuna came in and said, "Swamiji, what was that?" So Prabhupada said, "I told her to go away and not to bother me." And Jamuna said, "We never saw that old lady monkey again." So we'll go back a little bit to some of one time when I first joined in Boulder, Colorado. It started to snow. So they decided to send me to LA to get trained up. And that wasn't the Waseka temple, that was the Lasigeniga temple. And we just had the little Radha Krishna deities. But I met one devotee named Mahapurush. I don't know where he is now. But he was from the 26th Second Avenue crew. He told me the most amazing story about Prabhupada. He knew that if you came to that apartment upstairs around noontime, you got free food. Rice and some type of spicy soup called dal, and some vegetable preparation called sabji, and these flat round breads called chapati. So he used to go sometime for the free lunch. And Prabhupada would sit there with all the, not the devotees, just the young people. They're all hippies. And he would say, take some more of this, take some more of that. He would direct everything and eat with them. And this one day, he just sat there. It was so nice sitting with Swamiji. He just sat there and he sat there. And these guys were just hippies. They didn't, what to speak of wash their hands. They didn't even wash their plates. They would just throw the plates in the sink and go out the door. So Mahapurush looked around and saw nobody's there except Swamiji. There's all these dirty plates, all these dirty pots. Somehow, they're all getting clean for the lunch the next day. And I'm not usually here. By accident, I stayed. There's only one person in this room who could be doing all this. He thought, gee, maybe I should help him. So he started to pick up the pots and the dishes and started to wash. And Prabhupada said, I was just praying to Krishna to please kindly send someone to help me. Imagine Prabhupada was going through this to save us. He could have stayed. Everybody loves Prabhupada in the Gaudiya Math. He could have stayed in any Gaudiya Math. They would cook for him, do his laundry, do everything for him. He didn't have any problem. And here was these people who were half crazy. And now if they came to the Sunday feast, we'd sort of give them a plate. Can you go around back? You know, we don't want anybody to see you. But Prabhupada took these people and he cooked and cleaned for them. Nobody has known the meaning of Trinada Pi Sunichana Tororipa Eva Sehishana like Srila Prabhupada. Nobody could have done that except Srila Prabhupada. And he took these people because he saw amongst all that craziness and darkness, there was this little spark. People wanted to know. We all wanted to know what life was all about. This little desire for self-realization in all that darkness. And Prabhupada saw that little spark and he fanned it. And he took these people and had them spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. That was Srila Prabhupada. That was Srila Prabhupada. So, the first time I met Srila Prabhupada, everybody always asks, my own personal memories. Again, I was sent back to Los Angeles, La Cienega Temple, for my initiation. Prabhupada came to LA. And so, in La Cienega Temple, there wasn't any place for Prabhupada to stay, like in Watseka. So he was staying in a flat nearby. He came in the morning. He had darshan. He gave the class. After class, he would have kirtan. We don't do that anymore. We used to do kirtan after class, 5 minutes. And then he'd go back. So we arrived around noontime, so we were going to see Prabhupada till the next day. But it was Saturday night, so the devotees used to go to Hollywood. Specifically Hollywood Boulevard. And especially there was a place called Diamond Gym Restaurant. Because in America, if chanting on the street is your religion, the police can't stop you. But if you block traffic, they'll get you on that one. So the sidewalk in front of the restaurant was very wide. It was sort of triangle shaped like that area. So we could push people, keep the sidewalk going. We stood up against the street, looking at the sidewalk, and we would be in a half circle. And Vishnu Jan, he wasn't sannyasi then, he would be playing the mridanga and leading. And he was dancing on his toes. He looked like he was floating. And Prabhupada said he will chant his way back to Goloka. So beautiful, kirtan. But he was standing, looking straight down the half circle. He said, just like Krishna's eye. And he used to play very fast. He said, we don't want any gaps for Maya to enter. and we had a Hollywood melody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We even had part B. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we were chanting like anything. And Vishnu John, all of a sudden his eyes got big as saucers. And he went, Prabhupada. And he hit the street. Now we're looking this way, we couldn't see anything in front of us that would make him do like that. So whatever happened, it must have happened behind us. I told this story in Vrindavan one time, and Gargamuni filled it in. He said, yes, that night, Prabhupada asked me to take him to Hollywood Boulevard to see the devotees spreading the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya in this horrible place. In this horrible place. So we all turned around and Prabhupada was there in a Ford Admiral. Now you'll know how old I am, because you'd probably never even heard of a Ford Admiral. And Prabhupada, he had his hand in his bead bag, and in the window, he was making pranams to us. Prabhupada was so grateful that we're spreading Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement in this horrible place. He was so grateful. He was making pranams to us. Now, us, you don't want to know. We crashed Chitragupta's hard drive. Chitragupta is the secretary of Yamaraj, who keeps track. We crashed his hard drive. That's who we were. And Prabhupada was making pranams to us. That was the first time I ever saw Prabhupada. We all just fell on the ground and paid our obeisances right there on the street. It was so wonderful. So next day was my initiation. It was one of those few initiations, last initiations, where Prabhupada did everything. He used to chant on the beads right in front of us. After this, because it took a long time, he would chant on the beads and they would hang them on the microphone stand and just, he would give you your name like that. But he would chant one round. And it's not that you went to the temple store and bought japa beads from Loi Bazaar. You had to string your own beads. You get some little beads from Tandy Leather Company and some nylon string, and you tie it on the doorknob and you stretch it all the way across the room. Because when you tie 108 knots, that string disappears. So Bhavananda was the person who made me a devotee. He got these very light-colored beads. And Prabhupada held them in his hand like this. And he was chanting. They looked like pearls, like a pearl necklace in Prabhupada's hands. And I saw exactly how he chanted. The finger and forefinger and thumb on the tips. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare. Then he'd roll like this. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, the tips. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Then roll it. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Till today I still chant like this. That's exactly how I saw Prabhupada chanting. So somehow I was already coached, not like Satyanarayan, he put out his left hand. I put out the right hand. Well, first Prabhupada asked me how many rounds. I said, at least 16. And said, what are the regular principles? I said, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex life. And then my mind went blank, like just now. And then I froze completely. And some brown Richrini behind me kept saying, no drugs, no drugs. And I said, and no intoxication. And Prabhupada said, yes, no LSD. And then so cute, Prabhupada laughed at his own joke. He knew exactly where I was at. No LSD. So he said, your name is Deena Bandhu. Deena Bandhu means friend of the humble. And he handed my beads, I took my beads. I guess I still looked shocked for forgetting one of the principles. My face must have had a funny look. And Prabhupada said, it is okay? Oh yes, Swamiji, yes Prabhupada, it's okay, it's okay. Then Prabhupada threw the dies on this Yagya Kun. He did the whole thing, the lecture. I still remember main thing from that lecture. He said there's a small Bengali verse. Suchi hoy, muchi hoy, yadi Krishna tyaje. Muchi hoy, suchi hoy, yadi Krishna bhaje. There are two. Suchi means clean, a Brahman, highest up. And Muchi means the cobbler, dealer in skin, the lowest down. So even if one is Suchi, Suchi hoy, Muchi hoy, Jari Krishna tyaje. Even if one is Suchi, highest up, Brahman, but tyaje, you know tyag, the verb is tyaj. If he has given up Krishna consciousness, or he has no Krishna consciousness, he immediately becomes Muchi, the lowest down. And even if one is Muchi, the lowest down, Muchi hoy, Suchi hoy, Yadi Krishna bhaje. He becomes Suchi, Yadi Krishna bhaje, if he worships Krishna. So Prabhupada said, take advantage of this small this Bengali verse and make your life perfect. I remember that from the lecture. Then Prabhupada, we had like a stage, and little Radha Krishna were over here. The big picture of Panchatattva was very high up, and below Panchatattva was Jagannath. Jagannath. And then there was the first official Vyasa-san that made by my wonderful godbrother Narayana. And Prabhupada got up on the stage, he got on the Vyasa-san, and he started the kirtan. So, the person who made me a devotee was Bhavananda, who spent a lot of time on Hollywood. He was a filmmaker before. So it's not that you went to the temple store and bought a dhoti from Loi Bazaar. You used to go to Penny's or Woolworths or Sears, and you got 35% nylon, 65% Dacron, peach-colored cloth. And you cut it, and that was a dhoti. So because he was from Hollywood, he got the shiniest, the slickest cloth there could ever be. Nice peach-colored cloth. So there I was, jumping up and down in front of Prabhupada, and suddenly I felt the cloth, it was very slippery. It started to slip. So I just grabbed like that and was just jumping there in front of Prabhupada. Then there was a little room in the Lasiganiga temple, off the temple room, toward the back side, one side, where Prabhupada used to take prasad. Funny story about that room, because one time Prabhupada was taking prasad in that room, and Tamal Krishna and my godbrother Jai Gopal, who's no longer in this world, were sitting there. And there was this big gulab jamun, and both of them, Tamal and Jai Gopal, were looking at that gulab jamun. And Jai Gopal just reached over and grabbed that gulab jamun and stuffed it in his mouth. And Tamal Krishna became striking. Prabhupada, did you see that? Did you see that? Tamal Krishna told me I was going to punch him right in the nose, right in front of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, yes, Jai Gopal is a very nice devotee. So anyway, Prabhupada went to that room. He took his meal. Then the announcement came that Prabhupada's leaving. So maybe you've seen the videos. There was a little walk where Prabhupada would walk down that walk, and we were on both sides of that walk on our knees, like little puppy dogs. And Prabhupada came with his bead bag. You want to know where I got it from? And Prabhupada would walk down, he'd hit someone on this side on the head, then he'd hit someone on this side, but while he was walking, so that meant that on this side he would skip one. Then he hit the next person, then hit the other side, skip one person. So my dear godbrother Jayatirtha, Prabhupada missed him. So he ran down the line and got in line again, and Prabhupada missed him second time. So my other personal exchange with Srila Prabhupada was when I got my Gayatri, Brahmin initiation. Prabhupada had been gone in India for a long time, and everybody was waiting and waiting, and Prabhupada said, don't send your beads, I'm coming, just now coming. But then another opportunity would happen, another opportunity. Prabhupada just went on and on and on. Finally, after a long time, so my wife wasn't initiated, even first. So there was some discussion that it had been a long time, maybe she should get Brahmins. Prabhupada said, yes, the wife follows the husband. And there was some other devotees who had been for a long time. So Prabhupada called them up to his room. And he interviewed them. Who is Krishna? The devotee said, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada, you can take Brahman. Who is Lord Chaitanya? The next devotee said, he's the most magnificent avatar. No, he's Krishna himself. You can take initiation. I forget what he asked my wife, but anyway, she got Brahman initiation. So after the fire yajna, now we're in Watsake Avenue. So we went to that, now the temple room. That time it was a lecture room, lecture hall, with pews and everything. And we were all supposed to wait. And Nanda Kumar said, you come up one by one, and Prabhupada will give you your Gayatri mantra. Then Nanda Kumar came down and said, Prabhupada's got something to do downtown, so you come back later. So we came back later, then he came down and said, well, you have to come at 5 o'clock. I said, our ride is leaving at 3 o'clock. We're going back to Dallas, because we opened up the Dallas temple together. And so he went up to Prabhupada, and he came down and said, Prabhupada said, come on up. So Akuti and of course, had just gotten the name Akuti. We came upstairs to Prabhupada's room. We had they're a type of flower, I think they call hydrangea. They're little flowers all in the, not so little, but little bluish or pinkish flowers in a big ball like this. So we walked into Prabhupada's room, and Nanda Kumar became angry. He said, I told you to come one by one. And we'd forgotten from the morning, you know. And Prabhupada said, they are husband and wife, it is all right. So then we handed those flowers to Prabhupada. Then he motioned to us, you come sit on the side of his desk. And he was sitting on this big cushion, just like a little cowboy. He just looked like a little cowboy having a picnic with his friends. And he told us to come around the side of his desk. Then Prabhupada showed us how to count. said 10 mantras. You can chant you chant each mantra 10 times. Then he gave us a little sheet of paper, and he had us repeat after him. Then Prabhupada went like this. And I could understand, because we're all mlechas, we don't know anything. Just like Prabhupada was chastising, you're Indians, you should know to clean this. They don't know anything, I have to teach them everything. So I never gotten a Brahmin thread before in my life, so I didn't know, I should have come without a kurta. So Prabhupada went like that, so I had to pull off my kurta in front of my spiritual master. I felt very awkward. And Prabhupada took the thread and boop, boop, boop. Like that, he opened it up. Even nowadays, sometimes I open it up and it gets so incredibly tangled that I give up. But Prabhupada just, he opened it up, bloop, 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 like that. And then he went like that. So I'm just a mlecha. I don't know whether I put this hand or I put this, whether Prabhupada's going to put it over this shoulder or he's going to put it over that shoulder. And Prabhupada just put it like a garland. He said, you can learn from your older god brothers how to wear. Prabhupada was so kind. Then we handed him an envelope with dakshina. And Prabhupada said, thank you very much. He said, now you just prosecute this Krishna consciousness very enthusiastically as husband and wife. And that was our whole Krishna consciousness. I was always a temple president, and she was always the unofficial temple commander. And I can't remember ever having an argument. We were too busy serving Krishna. So then I picked up my kurta and we sort of backed out of the room. Then I read in Nectar of Devotion. It says, one should not fail to offer praise in front of the spiritual master. And I said, I haven't said anything. What am I going to do? Prabhupada was already busy on his desk. And I haven't said anything. I haven't said anything. And I got to the door and I didn't know what to do. I said, Jai Prabhupada! And Prabhupada looked up with one of those smiles, like a million suns is rising in the sky. And he said, Hare Ram, like that. Hare Ram. It was so sweet. Time is up, but I was thinking of one more pastime, personal pastime. Oh, Lokanath Maharaj told you that story yesterday. Stop it. So in Los Angeles, I always made sure I was right at the foot of the Vyasasana when Prabhupada would give class. So one day before the class, I was sitting there and Prabhupada went like that. And I thought maybe my dhoti was open or something. I looked, I couldn't see anything wrong. And then I froze. I looked up at Prabhupada and he went like that. So I was in a yogi position. So I just froze in that position. Then somewhere, I'd like to get that recording, somewhere in the middle of the class, Prabhupada looked at me and said, don't do that. Because I was wobbling my leg, you know. Prabhupada said, don't do that. I also got it, like Lokanath Swami. Another time, this is Los Angeles temple, old temple room, Watsek Avenue. Prabhupada used to come in the back door, and then there was little Radha Krishna. No, then there was Gaura-Nitai, little Radha Krishna, and Jagannath, and then he'd come back and sit on his vyasa. And in between Gaura-Nitai and little Radha Krishna, there was a big pillar with a Charnamrit. So many times I used to be right there, right inside Prabhupada, so I was the one who got it. Prabhupada took Charnamrit, he licked it, Then I was standing right there, so he looked at me and said, "It is salt. It is salt." I didn't do it. I got the full blast. "It is salt." Then he went, paid his obeisance to little Radha Krishna, to Jagannath, and he went out of the Vyasasthana. After the Govinda prayer stopped, he said, "Who has done this? Who has put salt in the Charnamrita?" So it was actually a bhaktin that I had made in Portland. And she was a little bhaktin, and she was shaking like a leaf, and they brought her out of the kitchen, and she was shaking like this. They brought, "Why have you done this? If you cannot tell, you taste before you put it. You have no responsibility. You have no responsibility. Why have you done this?" And she was just shaking. "Krishna's mercy," said the Prabhupada. "It is not Krishna's mercy. It is your stupidity." And my wife was shaking. My wife was all shaking. She's the one who gave it the service. So she said she was next. Prabhupada was going to blast her also. Then I never saw her after that. I thought maybe she must have blooped from that. So one time Radhanath Swami was giving a class about how fame follows you and infamy follows you. And he gave the example, there was one girl, she put salt in the Charnamrita, and later she came to New Vrindavan, and everywhere she went, everybody said, "Oh, that's the girl that put salt in." I'm not going to tell her name, but Prabhupada said, everyone looked, "Oh, she's the one who put salt in it." Her infamy followed her around all the way to New Vrindavan. After class, I said, "No, you have to tell me." "You have to tell me your name." And I told her that I made her a devotee. So he said her name was Suchitra. So she didn't bloom, she made it as a devotee. So another one of my personal interchanges with Prabhupada. One day in class, I was sitting right at the foot of the Vyasasthana. And Prabhupada told the story, Punar Musika Bhava. You don't know the story. One mouse, he came to the sage and complained, "The cat is always bothering me." "So what do you want?" "I want to become a cat." So he said, "You become a cat." After some time, he came back to the sage. He said, "Now what?" He said, "Dog is always bothering me." "All right, you become a dog." After some time, he came back. He said, "Now what's the matter?" "A tiger is always bothering me." He said, "You become a tiger." And then he began to look at that sage with greedy eyes. Grrr. And the sage said, "You want to eat me? Punar Musika Bhava." Again, become a mouse. And I'm famous for my smiles. I was laughing like anything. And Prabhupada looked straight down. He said, "Do not laugh. It is serious. Try to understand the import." Try to understand the import. It is serious. Another personal was what we were in Boulder, I guess, and that time there was only one San Francisco outside of Puri. That was in San Francisco. But Prabhupada was in LA, so we drove out to LA first, and then we were going to go up to San Francisco. And that was the first morning that Prabhupada had told them for Darshan Artik, you played the Govinda prayers. The record had come, and Prabhupada was so pleased. I'm racking my brain. I don't know what we did for Darshan Artik before Govinda prayers. I can't remember. Something we used to do, but I don't remember. So Prabhupada said, you play that Govinda prayer. This is the first day we played it for Darshan Artik. And Prabhupada came in, he paid his obeisance to Gaura Nitai, took Charnamrita, pays his obeisance to Radha Krishna, paid his obeisances to Jagannath. He sat down on Vyasasan and he was chanting along with the tape. In those days it wasn't digital things. It was a tape. Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And suddenly we saw from Prabhupada's eyes, so many tears were coming. So many tears were coming. And we all felt like, who are we to be in the presence of the pure devotee when he's experiencing ecstatic symptoms? We wanted to peel the tiles up and crawl underneath, you know. We didn't know what to do. Prabhupada was just, tears were coming. Then Prabhupada rubbed his face like that, and he made a big snort, I can't do it, into the microphone. And that particular time in history, Prabhupada was teaching us the Isopanishad. So Prabhupada just rubbed his face, sniffed, composed himself, and immediately began. With such a beautiful, rich voice. Prabhupada's voice was amazing. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udacchate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. And Prabhupada was rocking back and forth. He had such a deep, wonderful voice. It just felt like Prabhupada is the captain of our ship going across this great ocean of Kali. And Prabhupada's our captain. Isha Vashyamidan Sarpam. Prabhupada was just so wonderful. We'll finish with one other pastime. It's not mine, but when we had I think it was the 30th anniversary of Bombay, my dear god sister Kaushalya was invited to come. You can see her in those pictures in Surat. She has olive colored skin. She almost looked like Indian. And she's smiling there with marigold malas up to her nose. You just barely see her chanting in that famous picture of all the devotees. So then they did a program in outside of Surat. Now in Surat it was such a big program, but in the village there's nothing to do except listen to the grass grow. So if devotees come, because in the city there's bars, there's restaurants, there's cinema, there's so many distractions. But in the village, dancing white elephants had come, everybody came to see. So Prabhupada was teaching us Isopanishad, like I said. So he was lecturing along, then suddenly Prabhupada stopped, and in English, what happened during the day was Kausalya. She was just a 17-year-old girl. Not very Vedic, as we would say. So she wanted to get some attention from Prabhupada, like a young 17-year-old American girl. So she came prancing up to Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada, I can chant whole Isopanishad by heart. And Prabhupada said, that's nice. I didn't say anything, that's nice. All of a sudden in his lecture, he stopped his Hindi, and in English he said, and I have got one lady disciple. She can chant whole Isopanishad by heart. And she went, oh my God, why did I ever tell him? And then Prabhupada announced in Hindi that she was going to chant whole Isopanishad by heart. And then Prabhupada motioned to her, and she got up, and she looked at, 50, 60,000 people are sitting there in this pandal, and she looked at all of them, and she, oh my God, she just shut her eyes. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. She chanted all 17 mantras of Isopanishad. And then Prabhupada was so happy, he called her over to his Vyasasana. And he pulled her over the Vyasasana into his lap, just like a grandfather with his granddaughter. And he was rubbing her back. Can you imagine Prabhupada rubbing her back? Prabhupada was rubbing her back. And she pulled it off for him. So I could tell many other stories, but I think time is up and my voice is starting to fail a bit. So these are all some other people's experiences and some of my own personal interchanges with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki!